Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome your hosts for tonight, Rory McGloin and Grace Gagnon.
Welcome everyone to the 5th annual Yukon Public Speaking Competition sponsored by the Communication Society. I'm your host, Mr. Rory McGloin, and I'm so grateful to see so many friendly faces here in the audience tonight, but I'm even more thankful to be joined by the gracious and lovely Miss Grace Gagnon.
Thank you so much, Rory. I'm so excited to be here with all of you. We have a great show planned for you. But before we get started, let's learn a little bit more about the competition.
I'd be happy to fill you all in. So the theme for tonight's contest is all about the influence of social media and its usage and consumption on our personal relationships. And what that means is that all the speakers tonight will be speaking about their views and opinions on how social media is changing our relationships with one another. So I'm certainly very excited to hear what they have to say and the opinions of both our judges and the contestants throughout the course of the evening.
That's a great theme, but you want to tell us a little more about how it's structured?
I sure would. So we're going to have 3 rounds this evening. The first round is going to be a prepared speech round. So for the last 2 weeks, our contestants have been working hard to put together prepared speeches, which will average in length of about 4.5 to 5 minutes. The second round is a question and answer round. And at this time, one of our judges has been paired with one of our contestants, and they'll ask them a question about something that they said during their prepared speech, and the contestant will have 2 minutes to provide a response. And the third round, which is my favorite round, is the impromptu round. During that round, right before intermission, we'll put up an impromptu topic and ask our contestants a question. They'll then leave the auditorium, head upstairs, and have 10 minutes to prepare their final speech. They'll come back down, and we'll crown a winner of the 2018 Public Speaking Competition.
That all sounds great, but this is a competition, so I think we should take a moment to meet the people who are responsible for judging tonight's event. Our first judge this evening is Mr. Max Reese. Mr. Reese is a political reporter for NBC Connecticut. Prior to joining the NBC Connecticut team, Max attended the University of Missouri School of Journalism and earned a degree in broadcast journalism with minors in poli-sci and classical humanities. Welcome, Max.
Let's give a warm welcome to Mr. Max Reese. Thanks for coming. All right, our second judge of the evening is a good friend and colleague. Amanda Dennis is an interpersonal professor in the communication department here on UConn. Amanda's research is world-renowned, receiving awards and grants, both nationally and internationally. Amanda studies the interaction of interpersonal relationships, looking at gender and sexual communication. She'll provide some great perspective on how social media is influencing all of those relationships that we have. Let's give a husky welcome to Dr. Amanda Dennis.
All right, and our third judge for the competition is Miss Caitlin Nuclo from WFSB Channel 3. Caitlin is an anchor and a reporter for WFSB and has been working as a journalist for nearly a decade, and she graduated from UConn in 2008. Over her career, she has accumulated multiple industry awards. She earned her degree from UConn in journalism and poli-sci. Let's give her a familiar housekeep welcome.
Welcome, Caitlin. All right, folks, so here's the deal. We've got an audience, we've got judges, we've got contestants that have worked really hard, we got the camera set up, so we are ready to go. Let's go ahead and get this show started. Before the contest tonight, a random order was selected for our contestants. Grace, would you do the honor of introducing our first contestant?
I'd love to. So everyone, please help me welcome Mr. Sam Huang. Sam is a freshman from right here in Storrs, Connecticut, who is studying business. Best of luck to you, Sam.
Thank you. Drugs, drinking, and social media. That's the title of a presentation presented by a school resource officer to hundreds of students. The title says it all, and we've all heard this before. Social media is harmful, potentially as harmful as drugs or alcohol. It's common knowledge that social media has caused an addiction that has made us more antisocial, if anything. That's why social media is commonly accepted as being bad for interpersonal relationships. Let's begin by examining the consequences of social media on new relationships. The MIT Technology Review states that relationships established online simply will not be as strong as ones in person. You just won't have a strong connection with someone you meet online and someone you talk to and interact with on a daily basis in real life. How many times has Facebook suggested to you a friend who you don't actually know? It happens to all of us. And according to Sophos, a security research firm, 41 to 46% of people will accept, which creates a weak relationship. The consequences of social media are not just limited to creating relationships either. Psychology Today states that social media can cause jealousy, suspicion, and uncertainty in well-established relationships between partners. As a result, social media can even completely end relationships once and for all. A 2013 peer-reviewed article by the College Student Journal supports this, saying that high levels of Facebook usage were associated with negative relationship outcomes such as cheating and breakups. We are told some things every moment of every day that we begin to accept them as fact, even if they're not necessarily true. I could stand here all night and tell you about the consequences and problems of social media, and they would be things you've probably already heard many times before. However, when you step back and you look at it from a logical perspective and you consider your personal experiences, the true effect of social media becomes clear. Social media is constantly being portrayed as being bad for the reasons I just mentioned, but these reasons just don't make any sense. The reality is that social media has created countless new relationships and strengthened existing ones that were meant to be. The actual effect of social media has overwhelmingly been positive, and you'll see why in just a second. First, there have been a significant number of relationships that would not exist without social media. A 2015 report by the Pew Research Center found that 49% of social media network users will make a new friend online. When you consider the fact that sites like Facebook have billions and billions of users, you can see how many new relationships are being created because of social media. There's no way around it. Social media is facilitating the creation of countless new relationships. But people will often mention that these new relationships are not as strong and they're weaker than in-person ones. Well, weaker relationships are not a bad thing. The MIT Tech Review states that weaker connections are actually key to meeting partners. People are unlikely to date close friends or people within their friend group. However, they're very likely to date friends of friends or people they don't know just quite yet. And if there's one thing that social media can do really well, it's facilitate these new connections. I previously mentioned that 41 to 46% of people will accept a request from an unknown person, thus creating a weak relationship. Even though it created a weak relationship, why is that a bad thing? It's one that would not exist without social media. This brings me to my next point. The positive effect of social media is not just limited to the creation of relationships either. In fact, social media is also used as a way to build upon relationships. According to Psychology Today, social media is now used as that next point of contact after an initial face-to-face meeting or initial meetup. People now use social media not only to meet people, but to build upon relationships and make them even stronger. Finally, I wish to touch on the point that social media can hurt or damage in-person existing relationships. Again, this is not a bad thing. Some things were meant to be, but some things were just not. And if social media can cause jealousy and issues within a relationship, maybe that relationship wasn't meant to be. Wouldn't you agree that if there can't be trust in a relationship, that relationship would have ended sooner or later with or without social media? As you can see, it's very easy to simply pass off social media as being bad if we just listen to what we're constantly told. However, in reality, social media has not only strengthened countless relationships, it has facilitated the creation of countless new ones that would not exist without social media. And while these newly created relationships might not be as strong, there are ones that can grow and blossom into much, much more later down the road. The key point I want to make tonight is that it's very easy to listen to these things that we're told and to just write off social media as being bad. And standing up here tonight, it would have been a much easier argument to make. However, it would not have been a truthful or accurate argument at all. When you consider your personal experiences and you look at it from a logical perspective, you'll see that social media has had an overwhelmingly positive effect on interpersonal relationships. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Sam. Well done. Variety of points. For those of you who don't know, Sam is your classmate for many of you who are attending here from the COMM 1100 class, so fantastic to see one of our students up here on stage competing.
Absolutely.
At the end of each round, we'll get some feedback from our judges, and to start the first speaker, we'll get some feedback from Dr. Amanda Dennis, please.
Sam, that was excellent. I thought the speech was very well written and there was a great flow. You seemed calm the entire time. I really like the sources you used. Obviously, as a researcher, I appreciate nice citing of sources. It reminded me of some cool research on the strength of weak ties and how important they are in building networks. So great job with that. I really liked your arguments. My only feedback is that I felt that some of your points could use even more drama. You were making really cool points and putting a little more emphasis behind them, maybe moving around the stage even more, using all the space, would just enhance what was already a great speech.
Okay, great. Thank you very much.
I definitely agree the use of data. Sorry. I guess I'm going to use it without the mic. I think your use of data was great, especially quoting the Pew Research Center. It all felt very, very credible. The one critique I'll have is a similar one to Amanda's, where you did a great job at the very end saying this is a key point. I would have wanted to hear that a little bit earlier in the speech, so I kind of had a better idea where you were going to be focusing later in the speech.
Okay.
Hi, Sam.
Hello.
I think it's my fault.
Can you hear me now? No? I'll just talk loudly. Oh, there we go. Hi, everyone. Hi, Sam. I thought you did a really nice job. I thought some of your strongest points in the speech were when you kind of put your note cards down for a second, and it felt like you were just genuinely talking, you were moving around the stage, you were making eye contact. I thought that was really strong. And I really liked at the end when you posed a question to the audience. I think that allows them to put a little thought into what you're saying. And I thought it was really, you did a nice job of engaging everyone. Very nice.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, Sam. Thank you, judges.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, mic people. All right. Our second contestant tonight is Ms. Emily Waddington. Emily is a junior from Walcott, Connecticut, studying allied health. Emily's public speaking role model was the great Leonardo DiCaprio. Emily, take it away.
Isn't it strange that we live in a world where the first thing you see about someone isn't their name or their personality, but instead what they post online? Isn't it odd that all people really seem to care about is what they look like on their social media profiles? I am here tonight to tell you all that social media has a profound influence on our personal relationships. I would actually like to put a little spin on this theme and talk about the relationship someone can develop with themselves. You might not realize it, but the single most person you spend the most time with is you. Bear with me when I say then that it is possible to have a relationship that encompasses the inner workings of our very minds. So wouldn't it also be logical to then conclude that personal relationships don't only refer to the people around us, but also to the person within? I'm going to leave you all with that thought for just a moment and shift gears to talk about the world of social media itself. I find myself walking around this very campus, hearing phrases like, "Let me take a picture first," "I need the perfect selfie," "Is this weird? Do I look okay? I'm just doing it for the gram." I'm going to tell you all a story about a girl who said all of these things on a daily basis. She would get dressed up specifically to take a picture worthy of being posted. She would plan her day around getting an artsy photo that could be put on Instagram. She spent nights lying awake in her bed, simply skimming through her phone, looking at pictures of posts by family, friends, and even complete strangers who appeared on her search feed. She followed people like the Kardashians and famous YouTubers who posted pictures of their stunning mansions and flawless skin and makeup. And she woke up every day feeling like she needed to emulate the picture-perfect lives they seemed to live. But she also found herself waking up every day somewhat disappointed. She could never seem to mimic the a la mode makeup look or the trendy in the now outfit she saw online. Social media had set a high standard of beauty that she couldn't achieve. It seemed as if everyone else had completely mastered this picturesque body image and lived this desirable life, and that she simply could not compete. I stand before you all today to tell you that this girl went down a slippery slope. She could never understand what she was doing wrong. She stopped living each day to the fullest. She stopped seeing the beauty in the little things in life. She stopped wanting to hang out with family and friends. In some weird twist of fate, she wanted all of these things to be portrayed online, but she didn't want to actually do them. Instead, she became obsessed with how she looked online, and this obsession had essentially stripped her life of all vitality. She mourned the carefree and vibrant person that she once was, and she realized that somewhere along the way, she had lost a piece of herself. Somewhere, social media had taken something from her and replaced it with relationships that were distant and ingenuine. And despite having countless followers, she felt more alone than ever. This may sound incredibly depressing, so I'm going to interject here to tell you all that this story does indeed have a happy ending. Eventually, the girl came to the realization that she didn't have to live this way. This didn't have to be the life she had for herself, the relationship she had for herself, or the relationship she had for those around her. She didn't have to feel alone, and that in fact, there was something that she could do about it. She had taken the time to focus on herself and stop the comparisons to people she saw online. She took the time to rediscover the beauty in the natural world and not the digital, unachievable one created through social media. And it had taken some time, but in the absence of social media, she had found herself again. I tell you all this story today as a representation of a very real girl who used to feel this way. This girl is me, and I know that I am not the only one out there to ever feel this way. Countless young girls just like me compare themselves to things they see online. I speak from personal experience when I say that authenticity and sincerity can be found in the world around us. I am here tonight to encourage you to embrace who you are and everything that you stand for. I am here tonight to remind you that you are beautiful, you are strong, and you are worthy, and that it is possible to forge a long-lasting, positive relationship with yourself. Social media does not define who you are. Only you do.
Right, Emily, thank you so much. That was fantastic. Let's hear some feedback from our judges. Should we start with Max?
Your conviction was outstanding. You know your speech, you knew how to say it, the way you used your hands was great for emphasis. The only thing I would even kind of critique on that is you were like 98% perfectly rehearsed. I want to get a little bit more conversational, but that's like 2%. So you should know you did a great job.
Hi, Emily.
Hello.
I thought you did a really nice job as well. I thought you were powerful. I thought you were engaging. And I really liked how not only did you tell a story, and we didn't kind of know where you were going at first. I thought you were talking about maybe someone you knew here on campus. But then when you had that little surprise at the end that it was you, I thought that was really good. It made the audience members connect with you. And I thought you had a really powerful speech. Good
Thank
job.
you.
I agree. I love the example the whole time. I kept wondering, is it her, isn't her? So the big reveal at the end was really nice. It reminded me also of forensics. Did you do forensics in high school?
A little
It,
bit,
it
yeah.
reminds me of kind of that drama and that really great performance. The only critique I had as the professor on the panel is I would have maybe liked to see some research or sources integrated in. A lot of the points that you were making actually have been studied and have been supported in research findings, so it'd be cool to kind of throw that in every now and then to mix it up. But really the speech was wonderful, very engaging, very enthusiastic, and inspiring. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, Emily. It's time to welcome our third contestant of the evening, Mr. Joshua Goodman. Joshua is also a Storrs, Connecticut native who is majoring in pre-veterinary studies. Joshua listed his father as his public speaking role model. Make him proud, Joshua.
Raise your hand if you use social media. Okay, that's a lot of people. Now raise your hand if you don't use social media. No hands. Okay. According to a 2018 study by the Pew Research Center on the usage of social media, 94% of adults between the age of 18 to 24 use social media. That's us. That's most of us in this room. Social media was designed to bring us together, but in my opinion, I think social media is tearing us apart. I'm not actually from Storrs. I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. And when I go home, I go out with my family. We go out to a restaurant, my dad, my sisters, my mom, and I. And I grew up, my dad would use his phone at the table. And my sisters and I look up to my dad, so we learned to use our phone at the table because that's what he was doing. And instead of acknowledging each other, instead of talking to each other, instead of having meaningful conversations with one another, we're stuck in this virtual world of social media. You can often find me posting Snapchats of sushi on my story or Instagram story, just because I want everybody to know I'm eating sushi. But does everybody need to know? No. Instead of talking to one another, we're just ignoring each other. We're forgetting how to have these conversations. And as time goes on, I'm scared that we're going to forget how to ask meaningful questions. 2 weeks ago when I went home, I went to my psychologist. I have ADHD, and it was the first time I've seen the psychologist in years. We wanted to talk about my ADHD. A common symptom of ADHD is impulsivity. And she asked me, are you impulsive? Do you have impulsivity? And I thought about it for a bit, and I said, not me, I don't think so. I'm not impulsive. But then I thought some more, and I realized that my impulsivity is in the form of checking my phone. If I don't check my phone in 15 minutes, every 15 minutes, I get anxious. She asked me if I felt like I was addicted. And I said, yes. If I don't leave my room with my phone, I feel naked. And it's terrifying. And she said, you're not alone. My generation has turned social media like Facebook into a platform as some kind of competition between one another to see who could get more likes and who could get more shares and more comments. And we've made this pseudo hierarchy for people who have more likes or shares are more popular than those who don't. And this is really dangerous. The ex-vice president of Facebook said that he hates social media. He regrets ever using social media. His kids aren't allowed to use social media. Because when people get these likes, these shares, studies show that it creates a dopamine loop in their head. And people feel like they need to feel this dopamine high to be happy or to be considered valuable. And not only is it making us feel bad, studies show that people who use social media more often are less happy in relationships and often have negative relationship outcomes. If you're married and you check Facebook more often, studies show that you're more likely to get a divorce or to be unhappy. I could spend all night and talk about studies show that social media users feel more jealous. They're envious of one another who feel like their lives are lived to a higher standard than what they normally are. And this is scary. I challenge you all today to take one less look at your phone tomorrow. To be present in the moment, to talk to the people around you, to ask them meaningful questions, to learn something new. And I promise you that the day you take a step out of social media, you will be happier and you will live a more meaningful life if you're more present with your surroundings. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Joshua. For those of you getting ready for your persuasive speeches out there, there's a call to action included in the conclusion. Well done, my friend. Judges, can we have some feedback? We'll start actually down here with Amanda, and we'll work our way back to the top.
Okay. I thought the speech was great. It was nice that you went without cards. That was really impressive, and it made it feel more conversational. Actually reminded me of a college lecture where you're sort of just talking with your students and sharing your thoughts and experiences. I liked the background about your family a lot. It was a good mix of putting examples and some data with the Pew Research study. I also thought you had a great pace and a great tone. Yeah, I didn't have many negative things to say. I thought it was really well done.
Thank you.
I agree with just about everything Amanda said. What I liked especially was you provided a little bit of drama to a frankly not very dramatic topic, but that was very successful, which shows a very good balance as a public speaker. And your pacing, I really have to echo, that was really very good. You knew exactly where to emphasize, but also kind of where to speed up a little bit.
Thank you very much.
Hi, Joshua. I thought you did a really nice job. I liked how you started with a question to kind of get everyone thinking about what you're going to talk about. I like how you kind of set the tone of your speech early and made your clear point on how you felt about it, backed it up with examples. And to echo these folks, I really liked your pacing. I thought you paused at the right time, and that gave your speech a second to breathe and gave all of us a second to think about what you had just said. And I thought that was very engaging of you. Nice job.
Great, thank you, judges. Thank you, Joshua. We'll hear more from you in the second round. All right, let's get our fourth contestant out here. Our fourth contestant for this evening is Ms. Christine Martin. Christine is a senior communication major all the way from Fullerton, California, and lists her public speaking role model as the great Emma Watson. Best of luck to you, Christine.
In 2017, Pink did an interview for Glamour magazine where she stated that relationships are harder now because we conversate through texts, we argue over the phone, and we would rather share our feelings on social media than with each other. Good evening. My name is Christine Martin, and tonight I would like to highlight how, ironically, social media, an invention made to bring us together, has created a technological blockade between us and the people we care the most about. Now, I'm not going to go on a tangent where I talk about how social media is all evil, because like anything else, it has its positives. It helps us connect with people far away that wouldn't otherwise get to be a part of our lives. It helps us maintain relationships by reminding us when anniversaries are, our mom's birthday, and don't even get me started on the dating pool. Because thanks to social media, you can now be catfished from anywhere in the world from the comfort of your own living room. What a time to be alive and dating on the internet, am I right? In all seriousness though, in an initial stage of a relationship, social media is great. According to uncertainty reduction theory, people need to find out things about each other in order to feel comfortable pursuing a relationship. So in the discovery phase of a relationship, social media is an asset. Because I can Facebook or Instagram stalk anyone in this room and bam, I know things about you. The uncertainty is gone. But I don't want to talk about our on-the-surface relationships. I want to talk about how social media is negatively affecting our close, personal relationships by making us antisocial, disengaged in our communication, creating a false sense of connectivity, and decreasing the quality and the intimacy in relationships that are the most important to us. According to a study by Adalberto Sanchez for California State University in 2015, he surveyed 410 people in hopes of figuring out how social media affected our interactions. What he found was that while social media was being utilized, the quality of the conversation and the connection the people in that conversation felt went down because they weren't able to engage while also engaging in social media. And how often is that the case? Where we're standing in a room with all of our friends, but we're scrolling through our phones and not talking. And that's why I say it's ironic, because this thing with social in its name is the thing making us antisocial. And more importantly than that, it's causing us to have this illusion that we're connecting with each other and staying in touch with people without actually ever speaking to them. And I know that that's negatively affected my life, because I'm from California, and last month I went home to find out that some of my friends were newly pregnant. Some of them had parents in the hospital. None of them looked like their Facebook profile picture. And I had to take a step back and think, how did I become so disconnected from these people that I think are the closest to me? The answer was social media. Because it gives us this false sense of reality that we know what's going on in everyone's lives because we saw them online. And more importantly than anything, is the quality of our relationships is going down. According to social media, Snapchat, for example, a quality relationship is something like a snap streak. If you talk to someone for a large quantity of days, you must be best friends. But how many of those conversations are a picture of a wall or a tree because you didn't want to break the streak? Facebook says, you're best friends. I disagree. And the intimacy in those relationships doesn't exist. There's quality and there's quantity. The quantity of the message is there, but the quality is gone. You can't hug someone through social media. And according to HQ.org, in 2017, 79% of divorce attorneys cited social media while filing divorces. So can someone please explain to me how social media helps us maintain relationships when it is the #1 most frequently cited reason that our most intimate relationship has failed? If this continues in the future, our relationships will be justified by likes and snap streaks instead of the interactions we're having with each other. Social media was made to be a tool to connect each other, so stop allowing it to distract you from the people that are trying to connect with you in real life. Your relationships look just as great without the Instagram filter. And I promise you the memory in your brain is far more vast than the memory in your Snapchat app. And tonight, I want to promise all of you that even if you didn't post it on Facebook or it wasn't Facebook official, it was still just as important, and I promise you it still happened. Connect out here, not on your phone. Thank you.
Thanks, Christine. Great job. I'm interested to hear what our judges have to say. Should we start with Caitlin?
Hi, Christine.
Hi.
I thought you did a really, really good job. I thought you were easy to follow. I thought you were really conversational and relatable. I really liked how you kind of walked around the stage. I liked how you didn't have note cards because it felt like you were talking from your heart and you really knew what you were talking about. I also liked how you weaved in examples, and I thought you were really funny. So, nice job.
It felt like a TED Talk with the way you moved around the stage, and you're weaving in the comedy. I think is kind of critical because you're able to tell a personal story while making a serious point, and you did that a couple of times during the speech, and that really takes a gift because that means you have to have both comedic timing, but you also have to understand your topic really well, and you definitely demonstrated that.
Thank you.
I think Max stole my notes because I wrote, felt like a TED Talk.
I thought it was a great line.
Yeah, thank you. It was great, though. It did feel like a TED Talk, really polished, clear, engaging. Nice shout out to interpersonal communication theory, extra point for me for that. So I appreciate that.
I didn't steal
He
that.
didn't steal that line, no. But I thought it was great. I really like that you gave some pros and cons while ultimately settling on one side of the debate. It was really clear to follow, even though you were talking about both sides at different points. I really like the divorce statistic too. We're kind of hearing different statistics throughout the night, so to throw in a new one that we haven't heard yet was really exciting and something I hadn't known. And I liked your points about quantity versus quality and how important that is in relationships. So overall, really good job.
Thank you.
Thank you, judges. It's time to welcome our final contestant, Mr. Marvin Lewis. He is a senior studying communication from Stamford, Connecticut.
Absolutely.
Here you go, Marvin.
All right. How's everybody doing today? No? Listen, I'm the last contestant, so I'm going to need some energy here. How's everybody doing? Lovely. Thank you. All right, so I could come here today and tell you that social media has negative effects, but that would be too easy. I came here today instead to challenge you. We're often told and taught that social media is bad for us and it has all these negative effects. But what about all the positive effects? What about all the good that social media has done for us? Now, if there's one thing that we do, it's that we often overlook the positives and the good that social media does. But before we get into that, since we're talking about social media, I'm going to give you a quick history lesson on social media. Now, the roots of social media run deeper than you might actually realize. It goes as far back as to when people used to use smoke signals to communicate with each other back in 1500 BC, to the first telegraph being tested in 1844, sending a message from Washington, D.C. to Baltimore, Maryland, to the first landline telephone, the first radio, first computer, TV, video game, to the internet being created, which opened doors that we would have never thought possible 20 years ago. Now, just by a show of hands, how many people in the audience today actually know that the first social media platform was known as 6 Degrees? Just by a show of hands. Right, now you're looking at me crazy. What is that? I saw somebody look at their friend. What is that? The other half you're going to look it up later after the show. So 6 Degrees was where it all started. It was the first social media platform that allowed people to create a profile and add people as friends. So we went from 6 Degrees, then we fast forwarded to Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and every single other social media site we have at our disposal in this generation. Now, all those social media platforms were created and built upon a very simple mission statement, which was to keep us connected. Which brings me to my first point. Social media was created to keep us, to allow us to communicate quickly and easily. Now, I know that may sound like something that's obvious, and it's like, duh, that's what it does. But it is something that we often overlook. It's a characteristic about social media that we don't pay enough attention to. Social media was created to keep us in touch with people from overseas, people from in Africa. Now, can you imagine how stressful it was to use a messenger pigeon? Yeah, right, messenger pigeon. Now, they used to fly in one direction, and they were able to fly for about 1,100 miles. Now, I want you to imagine how patient you would have to be in this generation to pull out your messenger pigeon and send a hey or a good morning to somebody. I want you to imagine if you had 3 best friends you needed to keep in touch with. Mind you, the pigeon flies in one direction. So now you need 3 different pigeons. Next thing you know, your house is full of messenger pigeons. Now, I know that example is a bit extreme and dragged and extra, but I want to add the emphasis on how social media has made it easier for us to just reach out to somebody, to talk to somebody. In addition to that, social media has allowed shy people
pictures and the captions that we come up with, it has allowed us to stay up to date with the news and what's going on in the world around us. It has made it easier for us to market ourselves and our businesses because of how easy and quick it is to reach a big audience. And it has allowed us to stay in touch with our high school teachers, our friends, family. And lastly, it allowed us to be connected professionally. By that I mean, it's easier to get a job nowadays, and it's easier for employers to post about a job. For example, I'm an intern for Teach for America currently, and I'm a senior graduating in May. So, thank God. So, since I'm leaving, I'm graduating, my manager asked me, can you find anyone to replace you? Do you have any friends that's interested? So, my first thought was, what's the easiest way I'm gonna reach my friends? And first thought, social media. So I posted it on my Snapchat. And within 2 hours, about 150 to 160 people saw the message, and 15 people reached out and said they were interested in the position. Now, my manager wanted 3 people, but now he's got 15 people in less than 2 hours. So I chose that example, that personal example, as the way that social media has impacted me positively. I could have come here today and told you that social media has negative effects, but I want you to be more open-minded. So when you get up and walk out of this room today, I want you to think of one way social media has impacted you positively. Thank you.
Thank you, Marvin. I have a great visual image of your room now being full of carrier pigeons as a joke by the time you get home. Judges, let's get some feedback, and we'll start with you, Amanda.
Hi. I thought the speech was great. You really got the audience engaged right from the get-go. I also liked, obviously you didn't know this ahead of time, but it was a nice counterpoint to some of the other speeches that were talking about the cons more of social media. So I appreciated the different perspective. I also thought there were really great points about professional social networking. When we think of social networks, we think of things like Facebook and Snapchat, but we don't necessarily think of LinkedIn, which is another social network. And so it's nice that you brought that in from a different perspective. I also thought you had a really nice conversational approach. I felt like you were just chatting with me personally, even though there's a whole room full of people. The one thing I would suggest is it would have been helpful if there were a few more signposts throughout. I lost a few of your points in the middle there, as the carrier pigeons were great, but I was like, wait, let's tie this back to the overall message. So a few more reminders of, on to my next point, this is what I was discussing, this all ties back to my larger point. That would have been helpful just to make sure I'm with your train of thought throughout. But overall, really good job. Thank you.
Marvin, you are authentic, man. You are real. I felt like I was in your kitchen and you're talking to me over coffee.
That was the goal.
Yeah, it was great. I felt it. The fact you were so conversational makes it very easy to believe you. You come off very, very credible. The one thing, and you're doing something that I do, you can see you thinking. When you're beginning to lose a line, you can see the gears turning. But that's also clearly the way your brain works, where you're going from one thing to another. You speed that up a little bit, and those breaks disappear, and you're going to get there.
Well, now Max was looking at my card this time around, making my notes. Hi, Marvin. I didn't take a whole bunch of notes on you because I found that I was just listening, which was a really nice thing. I thought you had a really nice command of the stage. You have a nice presence. You brought some comedy into it, which I liked. I like how you started with a challenge to kind of get everyone involved, raise your hand, and you ended with one. You gave the audience something to think about when they go home tonight, and I thought that was really nice. It reinforced your points, and I thought you brought up some interesting points that we hadn't heard before, so nice job.
Thank you.
Thank you, judges. Thank you, Marvin. We'll hear from you in just a moment.
Well, that concludes our first round of the competition. Now we're going to move into our second round. It's a Q&A. Do you want to tell us a little more of how that works?
So in the second round, it'll be a question and answer format. So before the show, we paired each of our judges with one of the contestants. And in just a moment, they'll be asking our contestant a question about something that they stated throughout the course of their speech. Now, for our friend Max, he's actually going to have to come up with his own question for this one and not rely on Amanda and Caitlin's. Just kidding, but seriously. All right, so what we're going to do now is we're going to call our contestants back up, and our first contestant, which we're going to pose a question to, is going to be our good friend Marvin, back into the kitchen with the carrier pigeons and all, and that question will come from our judge, Caitlin.
You up for this task?
Hello again, Marvin.
Hi.
Okay, so I like how you were focusing on a lot of the positives of social media. Do you personally see any negatives, yes or no, and why?
Absolutely. I could list a lot of negatives, but while I was doing some research to prepare for this speech, one of the ones that stood out to me the most was cyberbullying. One of our contestants actually, talked about how social media, it's all about image. It's what you see. It's what you see every day, and you start believing it. And to the point that it gets to the point that before we post the picture, we send it to 3 different group chats asking people, is this good lighting? Is this bad lighting? I know half of you have done it, so you think about all that before you post the picture, but that shouldn't matter. That shouldn't, although, you don't want to post a picture that you don't like, obviously, but I believe that cyberbullying is one of the biggest negative effects of social media that should be, attained to or taken care of, and yeah, it's one thing. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Marvin. Judges, any feedback for Marvin? Caitlin, we'll start with you if you want to address the question that was asked.
No, I think that was a good answer, and I think you're able to think really quickly on your feet, so good job, Marvin.
All right. Thank you, Caitlin. Thank you, Marvin. Our next contestant coming on back to the stage is going to be Christine Martin. And Christine's question will come from our good friend, Max.
Christine, you made it a point to discuss about the way people go through their news feeds, the way they'll, one of your last lines was, you don't need to put a filter on it with a relationship or the way you do with a photo. How do you think people need to maybe adjust the way they use their social media? Not just on a regular basis, but maybe if it is professionally or maybe if it is in a social way.
So I think the biggest thing that I found through, I'll just talk really loud. So I think the biggest thing that I found through researching for this speech was, that pertains to that, is I saw a research study that Pew Research Center did, I believe it was in 2014, and they talked about how much filtering, they use the word filtering, which I thought was interesting, people do before they post something online. And that could be while we're with our friends, while we're with our family. And what they kind of concluded was that 64% of people that they studied said that before they post something online, they spend more than 5 minutes going through content. And I want to make a point to say that think about how many minutes we're missing with the people around us, how that's affecting our relationship, our interaction, by doing things like that, because you're completely stopping the conversation. I'm sure all of us have been in a situation where we're like, hold on, let me take a selfie first. That's the thing we do. And then we take 15 selfies and we stop everyone's good time. We stop the interaction we're having. We stop the fun. We stop the memories we're making because we need a picture. And I think that that's a big problem in college students' life. I myself am a mother, and I have a 3-year-old, and I can be honest and say that sometimes I stop him from what he's doing because I need to take a picture of him doing it. It's cute. I need to put it on Instagram. But how's that affecting him? How's that affecting his life? So I think that the biggest thing that we can do is be proactive and realize that we're still making memories. There are other people around, and the memories that we could be making are far more important than whatever picture we're going to post about it later. So I think probably the biggest thing that we can do, both personally, professionally, family-wise, socially, is stop putting so much thought into what we're posting online and really trim it back and focus on the interactions we should be having, the memories we should be making.
Thank you, Christine. Great question, great answer. Very good. All right, so our next contestant coming up is Joshua. That question is going to come from Amanda, but I just noticed on Christine's point, a lot of you desperately trying to get great snaps of me here at the show, and I really would just ask you to put your phones away and just enjoy the show, and I'll be here to take pictures with you later on. Isn't that right?
Hi, Joshua.
Hey.
So you made a really interesting point during your speech about how when people are using different social media, they get a dopamine-like rush. And you frame that as something that's bad, right? That can lead to addiction or make it hard for people to enjoy the rest of life if they're kind of getting this rush online. But I'm wondering if that can ever be a good thing. Sometimes when I've had a bad day and I go on Facebook and I see that my friends had a good day or something happy happened to them, or even a picture of a cool travel place that gets me excited thinking about maybe one day will I go there. I kind of like that potential dopamine rush when I've had a bad day. So I'm just wondering, do you see any positives to maybe that response?
So dopamine actually makes you feel good. And it's a positive feeling, but once we get used to this feeling, we need that dopamine to keep coming. If we don't have that, then we all of a sudden don't have this feeling anymore. It's like a drug. You become addicted in a way to dopamine. And my issue with it is that Facebook or social media, it's not real. It's virtual. One day, if social media is gone, how are you going to get these dopamine loops? And we're actually seeing a trend of people who spend more time on social media, they're more likely to be depressed. So, as time goes on and you build on the amount of likes and follows and shares you're getting, you're also, I guess, increasing the tolerance of the dopamine that you would need to achieve the same effect.
Do you have any feedback? Yeah, that was great. It was a really interesting perspective. I hadn't kind of thought about that acclimating or just needing more and more in the next fix. That was a really good point. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Nice job, everyone. Great question and great answer. Well done. Round of applause. Thank you. All right, our fourth contestant in round 2 will be Emily. Welcome back to the stage. And Emily's question will come from our judge, Caitlin.
Hi, Emily. Hello. So in your speech, you talked a little bit about your personal story and kind of your struggle with social media over the years. I want to know if you're still on social media and if you've changed the way you're using it and why.
It's actually a really good question, but I'm kind of going to divert to this whole idea of you have to prioritize what's important in your life. Some of my fellow contestants here have talked about important relationships with family and friends and making true and genuine connections. And even though you can put some of these things on social media itself, it's really important to recognize that the priority is what you're doing now, what you're doing here, the experiences that you're living in this precise moment. But that's not to say that you can't capture that with a picture. Because when you capture it with a picture, you can kind of reflect back with friends and family and look at those times and remember that you were happy, that they were fun, and it can be a positive experience reflecting on what was taken in that moment in time. But you have to step back and look at where you are as a whole. So I do still use social media, but nowhere near what I did before. I actually deleted my Instagram, deleted my Snapchat, and years later created a new one, but it's entirely different. I no longer post pictures just for the sake of getting countless likes. I no longer follow thousands of people, and I focus on following my friends and my family to create these personal relationships that are stronger and more genuine than any relationship that I had before. So really, it's just about prioritizing where you want to be in your life and what you want to do with the memories that you're making, because they are valuable memories and you can reflect on them positively, but you need to remember that this is where you are now. And so for my own sake, I've decided that I'm going to be present in my life and not be so concerned about what I post. And if somebody gets a good picture, great. If it's a terrible picture, still great. I'll look back and laugh, but just to focus on who I am and know that I have an inner strength regardless of what I'm posting online.
Fantastic, fantastic. Great answer. Thank you very much.
Emily, I thought that was a really complete answer. You seem really confident when you speak, and that translates really well, and I thought that was a nice job.
Thank you.
Okay, very good. Thank you, judges. All right, let's get our fifth contestant in the second round up in the center of the stage here, please. Sam, your question will be presented by Judge Max.
Sam, you focus a lot about the way social media impacts our individual relationships. After looking at a lot of the data and the different studies that you examined, do you think it's going to change the way maybe you'll use social media in future relationships?
Yes, absolutely. So I took the approach that I did because I think that it's a two-sided issue, obviously. But I think that there's a much greater positive benefit to social media than there is a negative one. And honestly, it might be different from an approach that the other contestants took, but I think I might be using social media more now. Because even though there are downsides, when you consider it and you think about it, the downsides really aren't bad. And the benefits really do outweigh them. For example, if a relationship is rocky because of social media, it might be a sign that that's just not meant to be, like I mentioned. And I believe that there's a huge benefit to social media, and I will be using it more.
Great. Thank you, Sam. Any feedback from the judges?
Yeah, you owned that. That was awesome. That was great. It really was. I felt like you answered it clearly and completely, but also you kind of owned it in a way that keep doing that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, contestants, and thank you, judges.
All right, on to the third round, but first we're going to take a quick intermission. And before we do that, we're going to provide our contestants with a quick question that they're going to have to answer during intermission. So in my opinion, this is the hardest round.
Absolutely, Grace. So we like to thank our judges for giving the great questions, but now we have one question that all contestants will have to go and prepare, and in just a short moment, we're going to take an intermission. And while you're enjoying the refreshments and the cookies that we placed out back, our contestants will be taken upstairs, and they'll have 10 minutes exactly to prepare their final notes for the impromptu speech that we are going to give them. This is by far a very difficult round and very challenging opportunity. And then we're going to come back, and they're each going to have 4-minute speeches, and we are going to crown the 2018 Public Speaking Competition Champion. Now, I know that the contestants are hanging on every word right now because they want to know what that topic is going to be. And Max, you might have even seen my notes tonight because you alluded to the future. And that's exactly where we're going to take this. So throughout the course of the first and second round, we've heard a lot about the pros and the cons of social media usage. We've heard some people that are for it, and we've heard some people that challenge you to say, not so fast. Well, I'm here tonight to ask a question about the future. In particular, about the role that artificial intelligence is going to play in the way in which we approach our social relationships. Many of us rely on devices such as Siri or Google Home to help make way through our day-to-day lives. So my question for the contestants and for all of you to ponder during intermission is this. As you look into the future of technological developments, do you believe that relationships with computers driven by artificial intelligence are capable of fulfilling the same needs and the same functions of human-to-human relationships? Do you see relationships with artificially intelligent devices as being a relatively positive or negative thing? And is this going to be a good or a bad development for human relationships? In your answer, provide a clear opinion and support for why it is that you think that. At this time, I'll ask our production assistant, Laura, to take our contestants upstairs as they begin to prepare for the final round.
That's a really good question. I don't even know if I can answer that myself, but I'm really excited to hear what the contestants have to say when we return. So at this moment, we're going to take an intermission. You can feel free to grab refreshments. We're going to play some games in here as well, so if you want to participate in that.
If anybody's out of points, we'll be giving away some Dunkin' Donut gift cards in just a moment, so raise your hand, come on stage, and we'll have some trivia questions. Enjoy the intermission. We'll be back in 12 minutes, ready to go. Hey, what's going on? All right, here we go. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hustle up, you got to get on stage before somebody's they're going to beat you. We're going to have a race. Oh, I love the hustle. That's it. You're in. That's a gift card. That's a gift card right there. Give me one. Don't even know if it's going to get you a coffee. Okay, here, how's the rules going to go? We've got 10 trivia questions, and we're going to start down there at the end, and we're going to work our way down. So the way it's going to work is Grace is going to introduce us to the crowd, and then I'm going to ask you the question. They're multiple choice in some cases. If you get it right, gift card, and you can go hang out. If you get it wrong, it goes to the next person in line. So be paying attention to what's going on. If it's a multiple choice question, and there's 4 choices, and they get it wrong the last 3 times, and you don't get it right, you don't get a card, okay?
Then I get your card if you don't.
All right. So, Grace, why don't you introduce us for our first contestant here?
Mind if I ask you a few questions? What's your name?
Erna.
And what year are you?
Freshman.
And are you in Rory's public speaking class?
Yeah.
Do you think maybe you could ever be on this stage?
No.
All right, Erna. So the first question tonight is the average Tinder user spends how much time per day on the app? Is it A, 5 minutes, B, 15 minutes, C, 30 minutes, or D, over 60 minutes?
C, 30 minutes.
Ooh, not right. We're going to pass it on to our next contestant. Stay right there.
What's your name?
Sedasia.
And what year are you?
Sophomore.
And are you also in Rory's public speaking class?
I am.
Do you love his class?
I do.
Yes.
Good. I loved it too.
Okay. So we know it's not 30 minutes. Is it 5, 15, or over 60?
I'm going to go with over 60.
That is correct. Let's get this lady a gift card. Nice job. Congratulations. All right. Moving on down the line, our next contestant.
All right, and what's your name?
Travis,
And what year are you?
I'm a junior.
And what's your favorite color?
Blue.
Nice.
Blue, very nice. Okay, here we go. A research study conducted at Northwestern University found that those who post more frequently on social media about their partner feel what in this relationship? A, angrier, B, more insecure, C, more secure, or D, happier?
Did you say who posts more?
A was angrier, B was more...
No, can you repeat the question?
Sure can. A research study conducted by Northwestern University found that those who post more frequently on social media feel about their partner angrier, more secure, more insecure, or happier.
More insecure.
That's correct. Get this guy a gift card. Well done. First try. Nice job. After surveying more than 100 couples, researchers from Northwestern University found those who posted more frequently on social media about their partner actually feel insecure about the entire relationship. Keep that in mind now, folks.
Alrighty, you're up. What's your first name?
Alex,
And what year are you?
senior.
You're a senior. What brings you here tonight?
Wanted to learn how to speak in public.
Awesome, me too, honestly.
All right, so you didn't know you were going to be up on stage, and here we are. That's pretty cool. All right, this one's kind of tricky, so you got to pay attention. What percentage of Facebook users have admitted to regularly checking the profiles of their previous intimate partners on Facebook? So these are going to go up. Is it 67%, 75%, 83%, or 91%?
I'm going to go with 91%.
Ooh, close, but not quite. Stay right there. All right, coming down. So we know it's not 91. We've got 67%, 75%, or 83%.
I'm gonna go 83.
83% is correct. What's your first name?
Jenna.
Jenna. Nice job, Jenna. Well
Congrats,
done.
Jenna, you just won the lottery.
83% of people will regularly check the profiles of their previous intimate partners on Facebook. That's when people still had Facebook, right? Nobody uses it.
Facebook's still pretty popular. I mean, I like to see little baby goats on there, but that's just me.
I'm on there. You can find me on Facebook. I'm there.
All right, you're up. What's your first name?
I'm Mark.
You're Mark. What year?
I'm a senior.
And what brings you to this lovely competition tonight?
Extra credit.
Nice. Honest, I like it.
Me too. Okay, what percent of millennials are single because they want to focus on their career? Is it A, 40%, B, 30%, C, 7%, or D, 90%?
B.
B, 30%. Ooh, close, but not quite.
Sorry.
Let's repeat those answers again. So, what percentage of millennials are single because they want to focus on their career? Is it A, 40%, C, 7%, or D, 90%?
I'm going to go with A.
A, 40% is correct. Nice job. Well done.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Jameson.
All right. Nice job, Jameson. Enjoy the gift card. All right. Our next contestant is?
Nick,
What's your favorite color?
blue,
What year are you?
freshman.
Where do you live? Just kidding. That.
Okay.
Keep going.
All right. How many teen daters say they spend time texting with their partner daily? This is interesting. How many of teen daters say they spend time texting with their partner daily? Is it A, 72%, B, 90%, C, 60%, or D, 87%?
90%.
Ooh, close. Not quite. Next contestant. So is it 2%, C, 60%, or D, 87%? Whoever came up with these was very, very harsh. These are tough.
D.
Ooh, we got two in a row. No good. No good. You only have two choices left. Is it 72% or 60%?
72.
72% is right.
Woo.
All right, go back to the beginning. We're gonna find some winners here. All right, question number 11 was, when was Instagram founded? A, 2000, B, 2007, or C, 2010?
2007.
Is it 2000 or 2010?
2010.
That's right, we got a winner. Give him a gift card. All right, next up. Okay, are most Pinterest members male or female?
Female.
Okay, yeah, that's good. We got that one right. Well done. All right, here we go. Next question. What percent of married or partnered adults have texted each other when both home together? 30%, 0%, 25%, or 60%?
60%.
Ooh, I would say that that's right too, but somebody bolded the other answer, so I can't give it to you. All right, what do you think? You got 30, 0, or 25?
30.
Ooh, here we go. Now, this is your moment to shine.
Does that mean I get to keep these then?
I think so, yeah. Is it 0% or 25%?
What was the question again? Can you repeat it? Please?
What percent of married partners have texted each other when they're both home together?
25%.
That's right, you win!
Finally. Thank you.
All right, here we go. What are the top 3 countries on Twitter?
Top 3?
Yeah, if you give me any of them, you win.
Oh, United States.
All right, there's one. Okay, give him a card.
Thank you.
We need 2 more top countries on Twitter.
Canada.
Keep going.
England.
Keep going.
Oh my God.
We're going to name countries until we give away a gift card.
China.
Keep going.
Mexico.
Nope, think south of the equator, but in South America.
Argentina.
Larger landmass.
Brazil.
There we go, we got a winner!
10 times a charm, right?
Good job, hey, nice job. Round of applause for our contestants, everybody. Okay, here's the deal, get back in your seats. We're gonna get the contestants back down here in about 2 minutes, and we're gonna get the show on the road, and we're gonna give away some prize money and that big trophy over there and crown a winner. What's up, everybody? Whew, took forever to get back here. Okay, all right. We're back with the 3rd round, and this is where we're gonna find out where we're gonna crown a champion tonight.
This moment is make or break for these 5 contestants. And our first contestant to speak during this final round is Joshua.
Come on out, Joshua, excuse me. All right, so go ahead and take center stage. And before we have our first contestant begin to speak, I just want to remind everybody, in case you forgot, what the prompt was. Very quickly, as we look into the future of technological developments, my question for you is, how is artificial intelligence going to define or influence or change our nature of human relationships, potentially even including the relationships that we have with those devices? Best of luck, Joshua.
Artificial intelligence is terrifying. The thought of a computer building up on itself based on its past experiences is really, really scary. You've all seen it in TV shows of computers coming back to kill us all. I don't think we're anywhere close to that, but the fact that computers are getting so close to us is really scary. I don't think that artificial intelligence will ever be able to have emotions or feel like humans do, and I don't think that they will be enough to satisfy emotional needs that we have. Computers are binary, they're programmed. And our brains are actually the most powerful computers that exist. Scientists right now are trying to create computers based on our biological abilities, because our biological abilities are much better than the most powerful sensors that exist right now. And it's very difficult for that to happen. And for us to communicate with a device and feel emotionally connected, we need to have those levels of dopamine. But because computers can't imitate emotion, we won't get those levels of dopamine that we need. I also think that artificial intelligence is dangerous to us. With what's going on right now, with the elections, and how artificial intelligence was used to gather information on people and to advertise to them so that they vote a certain way, or so that they believe a certain way, or so their beliefs are affirmed a certain way. That's also terrifying. Not only that, but the consequences of security are devastating. My entire house is wired through artificial intelligence. I could talk to it, tell it to turn off the lights, any room I want, whenever I want. But if somebody hacks into this, and if somebody hacks into other houses through existing loopholes, because there are loopholes, nothing is a secure system, we open ourselves to great, great danger. And that's really scary. So I hope that everybody takes a moment to think about artificial intelligence and doesn't go out and adopt it right away because it has a long way to go and it's really not perfect and it could be very, very dangerous to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Joshua. Judges, some final feedback for our first contestant of the third round, please.
I thought you made some really interesting points, and I'm impressed that you were able to do all that so quickly, prepare a 4-minute speech so quickly. I thought you had nice energy. I really liked how you were walking around the stage, and I thought you did a nice job.
I think you did a good job of keeping your answer current with both the pop culture reference to machines killing us and also to put the role of AI and data in our elections. The only, I guess, shortfall a little bit was trying to bring those points together a little bit, connecting them a little bit more. It looked like you were trying hard, but I know with only so much time, it's hard to make it work, but good job on those references.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the speech was really nice. You were very calm, even-toned. You wouldn't have known that this was something you just prepared. I liked your point about not just getting on the bandwagon and really thinking about these technologies before we adopt them. I agree that there were a few points that started to get a little bit circular and didn't quite come together, but overall there was interesting evidence. It was a really well-done speech for such a short prep. Great job.
Thanks.
All right, thank you, judges. Thank you, Joshua. Round of applause. Okay, our next contestant, we're bringing back to the stage our good friend Marvin with his final speech of the evening. Best of luck to you, Marvin.
I do not believe that relationships driven by AI can satisfy the same needs as another human. Now, I love this question because I was actually having a conversation with a friend the other day, and I was like, how would you feel if you were at a bar and a robot walked up to you and started talking you up, and then, you know, he was trying to have a conversation with you? How would you feel about that? And she said one thing that really stuck to me till this day. She said, it would feel like the conversation was programmed. Now, that stuck out to me because, first of all, that answers my question, or that adds emphasis to my point, that robots will never be able to satisfy the same needs as another human. Now, I also saw another episode of Black Mirror. By the way, has anyone here seen Black Mirror? I like y'all. So I was watching an episode, and it was the episode where this lady lost her husband, and the husband was replaced by a robot that looked exactly like the husband. Same reaction, he had the same memories, but his emotions, they weren't there. There was something missing. There was a dullness to him. I want you to imagine the most dull face. He would walk up to you and be like, "Are you hungry?" Like, that's creepy to me. I was creeped out by it. And by the end of the episode, she was screaming, "It's not you." But imagine like more, "It's not you, it's not you." So at the end of the episode, she was miserable. So she was not happy, which adds more emphasis to my point that robots will never be able to satisfy the needs like an actual human does. Although I will say that technology advancement is a great thing. It'll make our lives indefinitely easier. But us humans, we have the tendency to push things. So I want you to think of any robot movie you've seen. The same people that create the robots try to kill them. That's backwards. And so with the way that technology is moving, I don't have a single doubt that robots are going to be roaming the streets, walking around. But there's always going to be that dullness. There's always going to be that something missing. Thank you.
Marvin, great job. Now we're going to hear from our judges. We're going to start with Caitlin.
Start with me again. You're just really easy to listen to, which is nice. And when you're so conversational, it's very easy to understand your points. I thought it was a really good speech. And with all the examples you gave, you brought it back to that first point. So you told us the point right away, your thought, and then every example you kind of brought us back to that to support it. And I thought that was a really good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I echo a lot of that. I want to know some other conversations you have if you're talking about, all these things. Just 5 more minutes. Easy listenability. You do a good job of being concise, also relating to the audience, bringing up, a good pop culture reference. You're able to have a conversation with the audience rather than talk to the audience. Similar critique of Joshua, just a little choppy, which I understand is totally a product of a short runway to get an answer out, but I think you did a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. I thought you had a really good example. It was nice to hear about a conversation you had. Again, I felt that level of comfort that we were just having a discussion, and it was very easy to follow along and focus. You seemed very comfortable. I also like that you used a note card. I think that this is an appropriate situation for you just prepped. Having a card to remind yourself what you just prepped, I think that works really well, and it was helpful and kept the flow going really nicely. And I also just feel like I should mention that we do have a robot in the comm department. Her name is Pepper, if no one's met her. So before you know it, it will be walking around. It makes me scared to work late at night. So thank you for the warnings.
All right, thank you, judges. We're going to move on to our next contestant. Let's welcome out Sam.
Best luck, Sam.
Well, I must say, I'm very excited to be talking to you about this. It's actually artificial intelligence. It's actually something that's right within my major study, management information systems. Something that we study extensively in the major and learn a lot about. And if there's one thing I learned is that there are many misconceptions about artificial intelligence. It's a buzzword nowadays, and we hear it in the news, we hear it everywhere, in school and classes. But how many of us actually know what it means? To really understand what artificial intelligence can do for our relationships and for us, we really have to understand what it actually means. First, there are a couple things I want to talk about. I want to tell you about the technology that supports AI, how these technologies apply to you and where they are actually found, and what the challenges of AI are. First, I want to reference Moore's Law. Moore's Law is a law that states that the number of circuits per processor doubles every 2 years. But why is this important to AI? It's important because processors and processing power form the basis of artificial intelligence. And because that power doubles every 2 years, AIs are getting smarter and are getting more intelligent every second. Now, people often misunderstand what AI actually is. People might think that Google Home is an AI, and in a way it is, but telling a machine to turn the lights or to raise the heat, that's not what artificial intelligence is. AI is learning from experiences. And it's a machine, a robot, a set of code that will look at past experiences to make new decisions. It's not just turning things on and off like some people might mistakenly assume. So, what actually is AI? A great example actually is Cleverbot, and I'm sure many of you guys have heard of that before. That's what AI is, something that can learn and build upon its experiences. Now, some of the other contestants mentioned that AIs can negatively affect relationships because it can actually, it doesn't have many of the human characteristics that we reference. However, those challenges are actually very easily overcome. And very recently, I was talking to a professor in the OPIM department, where my major is located, and we discussed the challenges of AI, and distrust, and the lack of empathy and emotion. And yes, those are things that do exist right now. However, those challenges are easily overcome, because simple things like having a typo or having a mistake will increase the amount of empathy and that emotion that people are seeking. So now that I've discussed what tech supports AI, what AI actually is, and what the challenges are and how easy they are to overcome, I think we can bring it back to the original question. Are AIs capable of fulfilling human-to-human relationships just like the ones we have every day? And in my opinion, the answer is yes. Yes, because not only is the technology evolving, but things will only continue to get better. AI is very commonly misunderstood, but when you really understand what it is and you look into it more, the possibilities of it on relationships are endless and are positive. Thank you.
Great stuff, Sam. You didn't have to call me out on my wrong question in front of the whole class or anything.
No worries.
Thank you. Student becomes teacher, teacher becomes student. That's fantastic. I love it. Judge, what feedback do you have for Sam?
I'm going to start.
You did a great job of bringing, again,
That's a thing.
okay, it is. It's a lie. Sorry.
Sorry.
Oh, hey. Okay. You did a great job in your personal experience and also expertise at the front, at the start of the answer, bringing that back. I thought that was outstanding. When your microphone started to tune out, you just were unflappable, and that's difficult to just keep going with the technical problems. So that's number 2. But then number 3, at the very end, when you're talking about Google and the iHome and Alexa and things like that, and then giving a contrary answer to what we've heard already, I think that's a great way of bringing it back to the audience in a way that maybe wouldn't have been expected. So I think you did a really good job.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd agree. I loved the speech. Right from the beginning, you convinced us that you had credibility and knowledge. I actually wanted to know more. I put cool info, exclamation point. I was really excited to learn more about this. I thought there were great points about overcoming the non-human elements and how those things are in the work, and we're seeing them happen with AI. It was a really clear answer. You told us, yes, they can replace relationships. So I know where you stand on this, and you've convinced me that it is possible by all this great evidence you had, and your credibility as a major in this area. So great job.
Thank you.
I really liked how you started by kind of outlining where you were going to take us, because it allows us to kind of come on that journey with you. I thought you seemed really comfortable answering this, and that's a testament to your major, and you were really comfortable with the topic, and I think that shows. It gives you a lot of credibility. And I also agree with Max that you just rolled with that technical error, and I should take a note from you, because I've had that happen to me many times on television. But I also think that you finished really strong as well and drove your point home, and that was a really nice job.
Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, judges. Thank you, Sam. Excellent work. Thanks for the education as well. Our next contestant is Christine Martin. Welcome back to the stage, Christine, and best of luck to you on your impromptu answer.
I fear the day that technology surpasses the need for human interaction. We will create a generation full of idiots. Albert Einstein. Now, I think it's pretty safe to say Albert Einstein was a pretty smart guy. And I think it's also safe to say that for everything that has negatives, there are positives. Now, when it comes to AI and robots and Google Homes and things like that, I think that there are so many positives. There are so many ways that things like artificial intelligence are going to positively affect our relationships. They're going to make our lives more convenient. In the medical field, there are so many people that could be saved by robots being able to predict doctors' moves and things like that. And it's not about if it's going to happen, it's more at this point about when it's going to happen. According to data collected by CMO.com at the end of 2017, 15% of major industries were already using AI. And 12 months later, there was a projection of 31%, just to give you an idea of how quickly we're integrating things like AI into our lives. But like anything else, there is no substitution for human connection. So in my opinion, AI is irrelevant when it comes to human connection. From birth, we need this type of connection with other people. The first thing that happens when a baby is born is it's put on its mother's chest, and the reason for that is because we need to form an instant connection with another human being. There's no way to form that with a robot, and as convenient as robots can make our lives, just like social media, they can negatively affect our relationships. If we let them overcome our need for interaction and arguing and failing physical contact with other people, we're going to be in the same situation we're in with social media, where we're forgetting that we have personal relationships that we're trying to form with other people. And that's important to more than just our everyday social lives. It's important to our mental health. According to an article written by Dr. Jane Brody for New York Times in 2014, we as human beings mentally and physically need human interaction to live happy and healthy lives. It affects our anxiety rates, it affects our vascular systems, it affects the way that we see ourselves in the future, the way that we interact with people in the future. It's fundamentally important to our development. So I want to come full circle today and say that whether it's AI and how robots are going to affect our lives in the future, how they're going to make our lives more convenient, how social media is currently affecting our lives or how it's making our lives more convenient, I want to come full circle and say that it's an individual choice and it's an individual problem. I think that we all need to remember that regardless of what AI has in the future, regardless of what social media is doing for us now, there's a bigger issue here. We need to be proactive in making sure that relationships that we have formed and we will form in the future are maintained effectively. So tonight what I want to end you with is coming full circle and kind of going off of what Marvin said about Black Mirror. If the people around you were replaced by robots, would you notice? And I think a good way to do that is for me to challenge you all tonight to look at the people you came here with and talk to them when you leave here. Form relationships. And 10 years from now, when you all have robots, continue to pay attention to the people next to you and form those relationships. Because I can promise you that your friends in your life, as you know it right now, is not always going to be like this. But the posts from people on Facebook that you met one time, or your Google Home or your Alexa, they're still going to be there when you get home. And I can promise you, you can quote me on it today, that Kylie Jenner and the Kardashians, they will keep updating their Snap stories, even if you're not there to watch it, and Alexa will tell you all about it when you get home. Tonight, I want you all to leave here and continue to form relationships. Because the social networks you have online or with robots are not more important than the social networks you are forming right now in your personal lives. You need to connect out here in reality, get off the social media connections, and realize that the people around you are what is really important. Thank you.
All right, Christine, some interesting points that you made. Let's hear some feedback from our judges.
I thought that was great. I love that you've had a consistent message all night. You've taken a stance about the importance of human relationships, and those are the primary things that we should focus on, and that's been a real theme throughout your speeches, so that makes it easy to follow along and to connect with them. You did a great job in a short amount of time pulling quotes and research. I'm really impressed that you've memorized some of these things that you probably just read. I also thought there were really great points about medical devices and the positive sides, and so I like that you provide a balance. It's not just that it's all doom and gloom, but that there are ways that could be helpful, but we still really need to focus on the people around us first and foremost. So, great job.
Thank you.
I like the tack you took with how you chose to answer the question, saying yes, it can impact your life to the extent that you allow it to. I think that was an interesting spin on it, where you're answering the question, but also allowing the audience to kind of have their own imagination with it. At points, it kind of felt like it was a closing argument in a courtroom. Going back to your core points, your core arguments, that's messaging 101, that's branding 101, owning it. I think did a great job of doing that.
Thank you.
You're just so comfortable and genuine that it makes it really easy to follow your speech. It's very relatable, and it's just a great mechanism to get your message across. It's very easy to understand exactly what your point is. I thought it was really impressive, and I echo this point, that you were able to kind of find that research so quickly and then own it like you had known it for years. And maybe you have, but I know that you had a very short amount of time to prepare for this, and I thought it was really nice how you had those facts and then you weaved it into kind of your personal storytelling. It was really nice.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, judges. It's time for our last speech of the night by Emily. All right, Emily, good luck.
Thank you. I'm going to make a very bold statement tonight and say that artificial intelligence has already taken the world by storm. I feel like we are operating on the assumption that it's only in the future, that all of this stuff is in the horizons and we are looking towards that, and that it is going to change our lives. However, I encourage you all to reflect on the fact that we are already in the world of artificial intelligence. Artificial intelligence essentially has the ability to mimic human emotions, to surpass levels of human intelligence. And these are outstanding traits that can be functioned by a computer. Computer systems have the ability to take information at a micro level and exemplify it on a way that humans theoretically never could. They can calculate numbers in a calculator faster than humans can. Artificial intelligence essentially is remaking the world as we know it, and it is happening now. We need to remember that our personal relationships don't necessarily have to be affected by what's going on in the world of artificial intelligence. There are far too many benefits to this type of program, to this type of computer system, that aren't necessarily reflective of quote-unquote robots that you would see in movies. It's not something that has to be feared. It's not something that we have to be afraid of. It's something that we can incorporate into our everyday lives. You know, for me personally, I am a terrible navigator. Ask anyone that knows me, I take you on frequent detours all over the place. I would be entirely lost without Siri. Siri is not the same as a social media platform. Siri is a device that was initially used by the United States military. Actually, if you go to a United States Marine Corps base or a Navy base or any other base out there, they will turn off your Siri's devices. You will not be able to get this navigation because it is so valuable. But it can also be dangerous. This danger is something that we also need to recognize. But the recognition of the fact that this can become dangerous should not scare us away from the fact that we must take advantage of artificial intelligence now. We shouldn't be afraid of what artificial intelligence will do to our social relationships because, hello, it's already a part of our everyday lives. Siri is on your phones, sitting in your back pocket, probably charging right next to you on your bed. We talk about these things as if they are so far into the future that they're going to impact our future only. Well, they're happening now. And artificial intelligence does not have the same hallmarks as social media itself. We shouldn't be afraid of what's going on with artificial intelligence because it will take us into the next generation. It will take us into the future. And our relationships might actually even be better for the advances and the benefits that artificial intelligence has to offer. The advances in medicine alone will allow people effectively to find diseases and cure them faster. It will allow us to make hallmark discoveries. And those are things that people can connect over. Those are things that will prolong social interactions, human interactions. I'm not arguing that you have to necessarily interact with a robot as if they were a human, because effectively they're not the same thing. However, the benefits associated with artificial intelligence are not to be ignored just because we are scared of what they may do for our future relationships. I can personally attest to the fact that I do still have strong relationships in my life, despite the fact that artificial intelligence is already skyrocketing. Therefore, I am led to believe that we are capable of having positive and strong relationships no matter where artificial intelligence may take us.
Nice job, Emily. Well done. Way to close this out strong. Judges, your final feedback for the contestant?
You just have a really nice presence about you, and you command attention when you're up here, so it's really easy to follow along with you and watch you and listen to you because of the way that you're speaking to all of us, which I think you do very nicely. I thought you made a really clear point in the beginning. You had some examples in there in the middle to kind of storytell and take us along on the journey, and then you ended really strongly by making your point really clear, and I thought you did a really good job. And I'm just so impressed by all of you that you're able to speak like this with only 10 minutes of preparation.
You're so pointed, you're so clear, you kind of paint this vivid image with some of the examples you use off the top as very, very, very strong start. It's a kind of almost down in the weeds question to a lot of people, but you clearly had a depth of knowledge on this that you can't just get from a couple Google searches backstage. So that was very impressive. Some of the breadth of knowledge you had on this. And finally, your presence, it's, you know what you want to say, how you want to say it, which is, it's a great thing to listen to.
Yeah, I feel that you could convince me of pretty much anything. You have such a poise when you're talking, and it's so confident. And it's so comfortable that it almost feels like you wrote that speech 2 weeks ago and have been memorizing it ever since, which is really impressive to just come out here and be so comfortable sharing that information. I thought the examples were great, they were funny, they were personal, they got everybody engaged, and overall it was just a very impressive speech.
Thank you, judges. Thank you, Emily. Go ahead and grab a seat.
Well, that concludes the speaking portion of tonight's event. I can't believe it's already coming to a close. I am so impressed with everyone's speeches. I couldn't even imagine putting something together in 10 minutes the way these kids did.
All right, so the judges have a very difficult task in a very short amount of time to go ahead and find us a winner. In the meantime, there's a lot of people that make this competition happen every year. And as I always do, I'd like to take just a brief moment to go ahead and thank some of those folks. And the most important people are the ones that are up on stage behind me. So I'd like a big round of applause for our 5 contestants this year. Just personally, I would like to say how proud I am of you. Your performances were fantastic, but even more so, as we always talk about, it's this experience that'll carry with you for a long, long time. And the next time that you have an opportunity, you know you can lean back on this, and Sophie, you have a bright future in communications ahead of you. In addition to that, I'd like to thank my judges who are making tough decisions right now. Amanda, Caitlin, Max, you brought great poise, you brought great composure and character to the stage, and we appreciate all the feedback that you had. I'd like to thank my co-host, Grace, for making this a fun and enjoyable event for myself up here. I would like to thank our assistant producer in the back, Dr. Steven Stefano, who always keeps us nice and neat and clean. Thank you, Steve, for a nice job back there. Well done. I would like to thank the audience. One of the most important people here to have a competition is a show, and you made it real, and I'm very proud to have the majority of you in my class. You've been great students, and hopefully you walk out here tonight motivated and inspired to take on your own final speeches of the semester. The Communication Society, as always, my favorite group on campus, a few of the members that stand out who had done some special work this year, Jessica DeVito, Sabrina Paz for making our great introduction video, Laura Couch, Amanda Olvaria, and Julie Price, as always, for doing a great job. Thank you to the Communication Society in total. I'd like to thank my Department of Communication colleagues for coming out and supporting the event. That is always incredibly meaningful to those of us who work on this. And then finally, I want to thank our alumni donor, Mr. Bob Pasquella, who will be hopefully visiting us again soon. His funds are the ones who make it possible for us to give out some scholarship prizes to these fine students.
That's a lot of names. I'm impressed that you remembered all of those. So, do you think we have results yet?
I have no idea, but we can either banter and tell bad jokes, or we can go in and find out. I'm going to go with the former. You head in there and see if we have any decision. In the meantime, for those of you who are here and you're students, if you're a senior and you're graduating in a few weeks, we want to wish you the best of luck. We hope you come back and join us, maybe as an alumni donor, maybe as an alumni specialist in terms of the judging panel, or certainly if you ever wanted to host an event, you'd be happy to come and stop by and see me. For those of you who are junior, sophomore, freshman, or somewhere in between, we hope you come back next year. And even more importantly, I hope you send your submission contest video in for us, right? These contestants have a lot of bravery and a lot of poise, and I think there's a lot of students out there in this audience right here tonight that I think could also come up here on stage and deliver some fine performances. So I genuinely hope that you'll consider competing, that you can continue to evolve your communication skills, whether it be here on stage or anywhere in your careers throughout the rest of your lives. So contestants, as you hang on the edge of your seats, let me go in and see if we can find out if we have a winner.
The results are in. So I'm going to ask the top 3 to please step forward. I'm going to ask Emily, Christine, and Sam. Rory, do you want to do the honors of announcing, or should I go ahead with second place?
We'll go ahead and announce second place.
All right, second place goes to Emily.
Congratulations, Emily. Well done. Nice job. Just so I don't have a Steve Harvey moment, let me just double check this for a second.
Got it?
Got it. And the winner of the 2018 public speaking competition, crowned as the best public speaker in the undergraduate program here at the University of Connecticut, is Ms. Christine Martin. Congratulations! One more big round of applause for all these fantastic contestants. Thanks to our judges. We had a lot of fun. Everybody get out of here. Have a safe night home. Thank you for coming. See you next year.
Thank you.